The most surprising thing about crows so far has been their ability to recognize and remember particular people, and even just particular faces.
You might think you have privacy when you step outside your house, but you are wrong. There is a surveillance network tracking your every move, logging your face, and even gossiping about your habits to the neighbors. It is not a satellite system, and it is not your smartphone. It is sitting on the power line right above your head. Basically, crows exist where people exist. Even in the remote wilderness, it's where there's a campground or something like that. Scientists recently fed thousands of hours of crow sounds into an advanced artificial intelligence, expecting to hear random animal noise. But here's the twist. The computer did not hear noise. It heard a language. And what they are saying about you is terrifying. What the machine heard in the dark, the goal was simple. They wanted to see if the machine could sort the noises. You know, put the I found food sounds in one box and the there is a hawk sounds in another. It was supposed to be a basic sorting task. But here is the catch. The AI did not just sort the noises. It started to panic. Well, not literally, but the data output spiked in a way that made no sense to the human observers. The computer was finding patterns that were way too complex for a bird. Basically, the AI was finding syntax. In human language, syntax is the set of rules that make a sentence make sense. It is the difference between saying, "The cat sat on the mat" and "Matt cat the sat on." One is information, the other is gibberish. We always assumed animal noise was just emotional gibberish. A dog barks because it is excited. A cat purrs because it is happy. But the AI was seeing structure. It was seeing grammar. The researchers watched as the machine isolated a specific sequence of sounds. Let us call it the red hat sequence. In the recordings, a man wearing a red hat walked through a park. A crow called to a human ear. It sounded like any other screech, but the AI analyzed the frequency, the pitch, and the spacing between the notes. It tagged this sound as a unique identifier. 3 days later, in the data, the same man walked through the park again. The same crow made the sound again. That is interesting. But it is not groundbreaking. A dog knows its owner, right? But then things got weird. A week later, a different crow, one that had never seen the man before, made the exact same sound when the man walked by. Do you realize what that means? It means the first crow did not just make a noise. It described the man. It transmitted a packet of data, a name, to the rest of the flock. The AI showed that this specific sound was never used for anyone else. It was a proper noun. They had named him. And that is putting it lightly. The deeper the AI dug, the more terrifying the results became. It found that these conversations were not just happening in the moment. The machine detected conversations that happened before an event occurred. Crows were gathering in trees and making complex sequences of sounds that the AI determined were planning phases. They were not just reacting to the world. They were strategizing about it. The analysis revealed that a huge chunk of their communication, perhaps the majority of it, revolves around us, humans. We are the main characters in their story. The AI picked up distinct emotional markers attached to these human labels. Some were neutral, but many were negative. They have specific alerts for human with stick versus human with food. This changes everything. For centuries, we have looked at crows and seen pests or scavengers. We threw rocks at them or shooed them away thinking they were just mindless birds. But all that time, they were taking notes. They were building a profile on you. And now that we have the technology to read those profiles, the question is not can they speak. The question is what happens when they decide to stop just talking and start acting. The implications are staggering. If they have names for us, do they have a history for us? The AI suggests the answer is yes. It found patterns that repeated over the years, passed down from older birds to younger birds. Your reputation in the crow world might be older than your car. You might have a criminal record in the sky that you do not even know exists. And the craziest part, The AI is just getting started. It has only decoded the surface level of their chatter. What lies underneath is a web of intelligence that makes our surveillance state look like a child's toy. The unseen eyes are judging you right now. How they hack reality. So, how is this even possible? We are talking about a bird, right? An animal with a head the size of a walnut. It does not seem physically possible for a creature that small to have a language that complex. But here is the deal. We have been measuring intelligence wrong for a very long time. We used to think the cerebral cortex was the only thing that mattered. That is the wrinkled outer layer of the brain that humans have. It is where we do our thinking, our planning, and our math. Birds do not have a cerebral cortex. So for 100 years, scientists looked at bird brains, saw they were smooth, and said, "Yep, nobody is home." But nature is tricky. It turns out birds evolved a completely different structure called the pallium. It looks different, but under a microscope, the neurons are packed in there so tightly it is ridiculous. A crow's brain is basically a supercomputer compressed into a USB drive. Weight for weight, their brain is just as powerful as a chimpanzee's. That is why scientists have started calling them feathered apes. Let's look at the New Caledonian crow. This bird is the Einstein of the avian world. Most animals, if they want to eat, they just use their mouths or claws. But these crows make tools. And I don't mean they just pick up a stick. They craft tools. There is a specific plant called the pandinus. It has long spiky leaves. Scientists have filmed these crows flying down, landing on the plant, and performing surgery. The crow will snip into the leaf, then tear it in a stair-step pattern. They are manufacturing a saw. They create a jagged edge that is perfect for hooking bugs out of deep holes. This is not accidental. This is engineering. They have a design in their head and they execute it. If the tool breaks, they fix it. If they cannot find the right leaf, they improvise with wire or twigs. But the real mind-blower is the water displacement test. You might know the old story of the crow in the pitcher. The bird dropped stones in a jar to raise the water level and drink. Researchers thought, let's see if that is actually true. They put a tube of water in front of a crow with a floating treat inside. The crow could not reach the treat. They left a pile of heavy stones and a pile of light floating styrofoam nearby. A dumb animal would just throw everything in the tube. But the crow, it looked at the stones. It looked at the styrofoam. It paused. Then it picked up the heavy stones and dropped them in one by one. It ignored the styrofoam completely. It understood the physics of density and displacement. It knew that the floating object would not help. It solved a physics problem in seconds that would take a human toddler 10 minutes to figure out. And get this, they also understand cause and effect. In another test, crows were shown a puzzle box where they had to push a lever to get food. But the lever was hidden. They had to use a stick to push a hidden button that pushed the lever. They figured it out. They can create mental maps of how machinery works just by looking at it. So when the AI tells us these birds have a language, we should not be surprised. They have the hardware for it. They are not operating on instinct. They are operating on logic. They are analyzing the world, testing it, and bending it to their will. The scary thing is not that they use tools. It is that they look at us and see us as just another part of the puzzle to be solved. They know how to manipulate objects. So why wouldn't they learn how to manipulate us? They have the brain power to do it. They are unlocking the physics of our world. Wanted posters in the trees. It is not just that they are smart. It is that they hold a grudge. And this is where the story gets personal. If you think you can mess with a crow and just walk away, you are making a massive mistake. Back in 2006, a researcher named John Marsluff at the University of Washington decided to test this. He wanted to know if crows could recognize individual human faces, but he didn't want to get attacked himself, so he bought a mask, a caveman mask to be specific. He put on the caveman mask and went out to capture and ban some crows on campus. He was not hurting them, just tagging them for science. But the crows hated it. They screamed, they fought, and they were released. Then Mars took the mask off and went back to his normal life. He also had a control mask, a mask of Dick Cheney, the vice president at the time. When he walked around wearing the Dick Cheney mask, the crows did not care. They ignored him. But the moment he put the caveman mask back on, chaos. The crows dive-bombed him. They scolded him. They followed him across campus screaming. Okay, you might think, so what? The 7 birds he caught remembered him. But here is the catch. It wasn't just those 7 birds. As the days went on, the number of crows attacking the caveman mask grew. First it was 7, then it was 20, then it was 40. Birds that had never been captured, birds that were not even born when the experiment started, began attacking the mask. Mars walked onto that campus 5 years later wearing the mask. 5 years. And the crows still attacked him. The birds that had originally been trapped were mostly dead by then. But the new generation knew. They knew the face of the enemy. This proved something terrifying. The crows had described the face. They had communicated the specific visual features of the dangerous human to their friends, their neighbors, and their children. They had essentially put up a wanted poster in the sky. The AI study we talked about earlier supports this perfectly. Remember the red hat sequence? That is the audio version of what Mars Love saw. The crows have a digital database of faces stored in their collective brains. They look at the distance between your eyes, the shape of your nose, the way you walk. And it is not that simple, though. They can differentiate between you and your neighbor. If you feed them and your neighbor throws rocks at them, they will swoop down to greet you and then fly over to poop on your neighbor's car. They know the difference. They are constantly updating this database. The AI analysis showed that when a marked human enters an area, the call goes out immediately. It is a broadcast signal. Target acquired Sector 4. This means you cannot hide from them. You can change your clothes, but you cannot change your face. And since they share this information, you could annoy a crow at your house, drive 10 miles to work, and find that the crows there already know who you are. The network is faster than your commute. We are living in a panopticon and the guards have wings. They are watching us right now, logging our behavior and deciding if we are friend or foe.